Alright guys, it's time for the number 3 new beekeeper video. This one's about pests. Objective in this video is to inform you of some of the pests and things that are out there for your honeybees. It's not going to go into depth about any of them because it's just, there's too much. But this will let you know there's some things out there. You can do more research on them. I can do more in-depth videos on some of them. A number of these I've never seen, so I can't show you. Some I have. So we're just gonna kind of go through it and explain a little bit about them. So the number one pest for honeybees, in most people's opinion, is the varroa mite. A varroa mite is a small mite until you compare it to a bee. If you were to put one size-wise on us, it would be the size of a paper plate. It's, you know, fairly large on the bee. The problem with the varroa mite is it did not originate or evolve on the European honeybee. It has jumped to the European honeybee very recently. It came from the Asian honeybee. The Asian honeybee is a different bee. In the Asian honeybee, the varroa mite is mostly in the drones, almost exclusively in the drones. So it doesn't really have a lot of devastation to the colony as a whole. In the European honeybees, they like to be in the drones. They can reproduce more in the drones, but they get in the worker brood. And the problem with the varroa isn't the damage that they do to the bee itself. It's the viruses and diseases that they spread. So similar to, you could get bit by 500 mosquitoes, and it's going to make you itch a little bit, but you're going to be fine. But if one of those mosquitoes has malaria, we could end up with a malaria outbreak that would spread through a lot of people and do a lot of damage. It's the same here, that the varroa spread the disease faster. The diseases they spread mostly is deformed wing virus. Deformed wing virus was here before varroa was here. The bees had it, but not to a degree that it affected them. When the varroa come in, the varroa can spread it so fast to so many bees in the colony can't get past it and can't survive it. Where without the varroa spreading it, it would be one or two here or there, and they'd get by it. So varroa is something that is controllable. It takes vigilance. You've got to pay attention. You can't just treat and say, I got them. When you do your treatments, you still need to test and you know, make sure that your treatments were effective. If the treatment didn't work, and a couple of years ago there were some commercial treatments that a number of beekeepers put on, and they got no control of the varroa. Had they not gone back and tested and reapplied something else to get control of the varroa, they would have thought that they were doing fine, and they weren't. So varroa mite is top on the list of pests. We also have tracheal mite, which a number of years ago was a problem. Not since I've been into beekeeping. The bees seem to have adjusted to it and handle it just fine. There's still some out there, but it doesn't seem to devastate the colonies like it did when it first showed up. We have some brood diseases. American foul brood is a very bad brood disease. They're starting to come up with some treatments for it. They have some bees out there now that they claim, you know, are resistant to it. They're inoculating them so that the queen is laying bees that shouldn't be able to get American foul brood. At this point in time, American foul brood doesn't seem to be a huge issue, but it is a bad disease. mostly because the spores that it leaves in the colony can stay there for years and years and years. So it just gets, any bees robbing out a colony that have it take it back to their colony. When that colony dies, any bees that move into that colony get it. It's pretty devastating. They are doing treatments on it now, a little more control. It wasn't very many years ago when if you found American foul brood in your colony, you burnt the colony, bees and equipment, all. For the state, the reason I just stated, if they start getting weak from it, other bees start robbing them, and then other bees get it. So American foul brood is not a good disease to have. European foul brood is more prevalent. We see it more often. It can be treated with antibiotics. A lot of times just good nutrition will get them past it. It's not near as devastating. Both of these foul broods are considered foul broods because the hive smells foul. When you open it up, you will smell the smell. I have seen neither one of these. I smell funny things in my colonies every once in a while, or they don't smell exactly like the other ones, but I've never smelt anything that smelled foul. So those are two that you need to keep an eye out for. You need to learn a little bit about them so you can identify them if you're seeing it. There's sac brood, which affects the brood. The larva becomes like a watery sac when it dies. There's chalk brood. Chalk brood is fungal. I've had a lot of issues with chalk brood. I'm going to start getting rid of all of my old frames and trying to draw a lot of new comb this year to see if I can get control of the chalk brood. It also is nutrition based. You can usually get past it with good nutrition. It sets off more when the hive is under other stressors, like not enough nutrition. We have nosema, which is a stomach issue. It gives the bees dysentery. You mostly see it through the winter when they can't get out and fly to empty their guts. And it can be really rough on a colony. I have seen a little bit of dysentery. Not all dysentery is nosema. In order to confirm that it's nosema, you need to take a sample and run it on a slide in a microscope and count the spores from the nosema. So now we're going to get into lesser pests, but still can be pests. Mice. Mice can get into a colony and eat comb up and wreak havoc on your equipment. If you have a weaker colony, the mice can get in there and actually run it off. Typically a strong colony won't allow mice in to be a problem. They can be a major problem on empty equipment. If you've got it just sitting in the barn, mice can get in there. It's a nice dry place. There's some honey, there's some pollen. It's all food source to them. They chew through things, they pee on things. And once they've peed all over the frames, the bees don't really like them. So a lot of times that's a melt out and start over again. Skunks can be a major issue. I put bees on a guy's field last year, and I would go through the field and I wasn't seeing a lot of bees on the flower. And I'd open the boxes and the boxes looked fine. And pretty quick I realized that every one of these colonies had scratch marks in front of it. So the skunks will come in at night and they'll scratch on the front of the hive. The guard bees will come out, the adult bees that are all home at night will come out to defend it, and they'll eat them. So they just go from colony to colony, eating all the adult bees, and pretty quick you've got all kinds of nurse bees and brood and the queen, but no field force. So they can be a problem. They can be trapped out. A lot of times you'll see scratch marks on the side of the box. I was seeing it in front of the box, or they've been digging in front of the box, like when the bees would fall off the front, they were scratching at them and eating them. I've heard that you can lay chicken wire out from your box and onto the ground, and that will deter them. They don't like walking on it. Because my colonies are right on the ground on a pallet. If you've got your colonies set up on a hive stand a little taller, it's a little harder for them to get at it. So another one that can be a major issue are bears. Once they realize what's inside that box, they will destroy an entire apiary, and they will keep coming back to destroy it. Electric fences work really well, keep the bears out, but you need it to be a good electric fence, and you need it up before they figure out there's food in there, and you need to keep it hot. Bears will push through the fence if they already know there's food in there. It's, you know, hives full of honey and grubs is pretty irresistible to a bear. So another one that we don't have here in the Pacific Northwest where I'm at, but it is an issue in other places, is small hive beetle. Small hive beetle is after the pollen, the protein, but they slime a colony out. They cut paths through everything and just make a mess of it. We have some wax moth here and some ants. None of these are a major problem in a strong colony. So if you keep your numbers up in the colony, they will control even small hive beetle. They will keep them herded into a corner. They'll propolize them into a spot where they can't get out, and they won't come in and do enough damage to be a problem. Wax moth the same way. I've done cutouts that were big, strong colonies doing great, and there were a couple of wax moth larvae in there. The wax moth larvae were eating some of the really old comb. They're not eating the comb the bees are using. They're not a problem. Wax moths are a problem on empty equipment. If you park equipment and don't take care of it right, and the wax moths get in, they will devastate it. It's their job. In nature, they're designed to do that. They go into a tree that has wax in it, and old wax, and maybe that colony died from disease. Maybe it had European foul brood. Maybe it had American foul brood. They go in and destroy the wax, eat it all out, and then the next bees that come in draw a nice clean wax. So there's a purpose to wax moths. One friend of mine, John at Baddest Bees, he actually farms them and uses them to clean his foundation off. When he wants to clean a frame off, he puts it in his box with the wax moths and lets them eat it. So they can be useful like anything else if you're used in the right manner. Ants, in some parts of the country, there are some ants that can be major problems. Here in the Pacific Northwest, it's mostly sugar ants. They're more of a nuisance than anything. They're just trying to get in and get a little bit of food, steal some food from the colony so they can raise their colony. The only time ants are going to become a problem in a colony, the colony was already weak. Same with yellow jackets. I hear people say, oh, the yellow jackets killed my colony. No, the yellow jackets just put it out of its misery, because a strong colony won't be affected by yellow jackets. But if the colony's already weak, which means it's probably not going to make it through winter anyway, I tell people it's like a horse in the field with a broken leg. it's still got its head up, it's winning, it's acting okay, but it's gonna get put down. It's not gonna make it. So you have hives like that, and those are the ones the yellow jackets will hit. So when you see the yellow jackets hitting your colonies, you know, look at what can I do? Should I combine this colony with somebody else? Should I, you know, shut the entrance way down on this colony and feed it more to build it back up? Why has this colony gotten weak to where it's being affected? So you have other things you'll find in your colonies that really aren't a problem. You know, spiders, earwigs, cockroaches. They can just kind of live in there without any issues. The earwigs are eating a little bit of pollen, and probably the cockroaches are too. But they're not really adversely affecting the colony. Again, the best thing you can do for most of these issues is have good, strong colonies with good nutrition. If they're stressing because of low nutrition, a lot of these things will kick in and start to affect them. A lot of these are opportunistic problems, opportunistic pests. One that isn't Varroa. Varroa is just coming. It's going to be here. You're going to have it. You've got to figure out how to take care of Varroa. I've had a couple people that I've talked to that are fairly remote where they're at, and they've been many years without even worrying about Varroa or doing anything for it, but they don't have any other bees bringing it into them. And when it does show up, it's going to devastate them. So anyway, that's pretty much my rundown on pests. These are things you're going to learn over time as a new beekeeper. But noticing that something is wrong, that things don't look right, that you have a bad brood pattern. Why do we have a bad brood pattern? Are we seeing chalk brood? Do we have foul brood? Noticing that we don't have field bees flying when we have a really strong colony. Do we have skunks coming in and eating all the adult bees? These are the things we're looking for. So anyway, I hope that helps get you started on your education for pests.